When John Neville moved to Canada in the early 1970s, he came to our nation with a great track record of productions before he got here, and of course continued them in North America and worldwide. But one of his best performances was kind of the first combination look of Sherlock Holmes versus Jack the Ripper that really stuck with a lot of people. It's called A Study in Terror. Now, this request is from our great follower of the channel, John Walco. Thank you, John. Now, this 1965 British thriller film was directed by James Hill and it starred Neville as Sherlock Holmes and Donald Hewson as Dr. Watson. It was filmed at Shepperton Studios in London with some location work at Austerley House in Middlesex. Now, although based on Conan Doyle's characters, the story is an original one, which has the famous detective on the trail of Jack the Ripper, also kind of a tie-in to Murder Decree with Christopher Plummer. The story of A Study in Terror challenges Sherlock Holmes to solve these horrific crimes. This leads Holmes to a trail of aristocracy, blackmail, and family insanity. Unlike Scotland Yard, in a real-life story, Holmes eventually discovers the true identity of the Ripper, and I'm not going to give it away here. Now, the film had its world premiere at the Leicester Square Theatre in the West End of London on November 4th, 1965. A Study in Terror presents the first film appearance of one Mycroft Holmes. Now, in the dark alleys of London, the notorious Jack the Ripper is committing a series of gruesome murders. Holmes and Watson, already intrigued by reports of Jack the Ripper murders, become involved when he received a parcel from Whitechapel containing a case of surgical instruments with the scalpel, possibly the murder weapon, missing. By a family crest on the box, they come into contact with the Duke of Shires, who admits his elder son, Michael Osborne, dreamed of becoming a doctor. His younger son, Lord Carfax, tells him Michael has disappeared. Holmes deduces the instruments were pawned to a broker, Joseph Beck, who tells him that they received the items from one Angela Osborne, who gave her address as a soup kitchen run by Dr. Murray. Now, Holmes and Watson meet Murray, also a police pathologist, after convincing Lestrade let them view the body of the most recent victim, one Annie Chapman. Holmes convinces Watson to go to the soup kitchen and make a fuss of looking for Angela. A disguised Holmes then follows Murray's niece Sally when she goes to meet Carfax. They explain Carfax was blackmailed by a man who threatened to tell his father that Michael, who was helping Murray at the soup kitchen, had married a prostitute. Carfax now works there himself, but Michael was gone before he and Sally arrive. The blackmailer, Max Steiner, now runs a local public house. Now, the Prime Minister eventually asked Mycroft Holmes to persuade his brother to investigate the Ripper case, unaware that he's already involved. Holmes and Watson nearly catch the Ripper when he kills another prostitute, who invites her into her room. Holmes confronts Murray, who explains that Michael has learned that Angela had assisted Steiner with the blackmail. During an altercation between the three of them, Angela was disfigured when acid was thrown in her face. Murray also reveals his crippled and mentally disabled assistant is Michael, the result of a brutal beating from Steiner. Holmes and Watson discover Angela in the upper room of Steiner's Inn, and she admits that she sent them to the surgical instruments, having removed the scalpel herself to get them involved, and Holmes and Watson return Michael to his family. Now, during the night, Holmes discovers Carfax attempting to kill Angela in her room, and allegedly he might be the Ripper. The pub catches a light during a struggle. Carfax, Steiner, and Angela are all killed in the blaze, but Holmes escapes. He explains to Watson that Carfax had no way of identifying Angela, so he killed every prostitute they came across in the hope that one of them would be her. With all those involved dead, Holmes elects to keep the truth from police. Now, the movie is well filmed and a good budget too, 95 minutes, £160,000, and didn't get a full American release till almost a year later. So Columbia was kind of trying to package this a little bit. Now, production companies include Compton Tickley Film, Sir Nigel Films, and other British and American funding. Cinematography was by the great Desmond Dickinson, was edited by Henry Richardson, and of course music by the great John Scott. Now, Sir Nigel Films. Now again, the movie was from Sir Nigel Films, a company set up by the estate of Sir Arthur Conan Doyle with the aim of exploiting Doyle's library works in film and television. Henry Lester, managing director of Sir Nigel, said, "We felt that the royalties we were receiving from various media outlets bore little relation to profits. Also, we were not pleased with the quality of some of the films. Doyle's son Arthur was chairman of board of the company. But there was also rumors there was other funding involved. I'm not sure ITC or BBC might have been involved, but there was a lot of tax money flying around at the time. Now in '63, the Mersch Company obtained the rights to make the life of Sherlock Holmes. However, when that project was delayed, the Mersches gave permission for Sir Nigel to make The Study in Terror in one more film. Now, Study in Terror, again, a co-production between Sir Nigel and Britain's Compton Group and American producer Herman Cohen. Sir and Nigel were entitled to 50% of the profits. In '66, Sir Nigel did have plans for 5 movies and a television series. Now, according to Cohen, he had been thinking of making a movie about Sherlock Holmes, and so had the producing team of Michael Klinger and Tony Tenzer to help out. They decided to team up, and Cohen arranged for finance through Columbia. Now, Cohen says the idea of combining Sherlock Holmes and Jack the Ripper came from Donald and Derek Ford, who wrote the first draft. Cohen, however, was not happy with it and arranged for a rewrite from Harry Craig, who Arthur Conan Doyle and Henry Lester liked. Craig, unfortunately, was not credited for the final film. Now, Cohen says Arthur Doyle had little involvement in the movie apart from visiting a set, but Lester was involved in many discussions. Cohen noted there were several things we wanted to do that he would say, oh, no, Sherlock Holmes wouldn't do that. Now, shot at Shepperton, great location, of course. Cohen said he had to direct the fire sequence because director James Hill went missing. Hill had a habit of disappearing, said the producer. He was a nice guy, but strange. Nobody could get close to him, and he always fidgety and very nervous. Jack Laird's twin, maybe. Now, producer Herman Cohen originally wanted the title the film Fog, but Columbia insisted on the title A Study in Terror to tie in with the Sherlock Holmes novel A Study in Scarlet. Now, Cohen also recalled on its U.S. release, Columbia advertised the film as a then popular tongue-in-cheek Batman-type film rather than a horror detective film. Now, Cohen noted that the film was a bigger hit in Europe than the States, which he attributed in part to the fact that he, not Columbia, handled the ad campaign. Now, the monthly film Bulletin gave a lackluster review of the movie, saying the film marks time lamely in the intervals between its conventionally shock-cut murders, while John Neville and Donald Euston uncomfortably mouth their lines of suspecting that nobody will listen. Variety felt that though the mixture of fiction and fact doesn't entirely click, an excellent cast gives the production full value. The New York Times said the entire cast, director, and writers do play their roles very well enough to make wholesale slaughter a pleasant diversion. AllMovie gave the film a very positive review, praising it as a well-made and exciting mystery, satisfying and well-acted. I saw it once, and I tend to agree. Moves very swiftly. Like for me, Murder by Decree is a little bit better, but, it's a different era. Now, in '66, get this, the film was made to a novel by Ellery Queen and Paul W. Fairman. The novelization is unusual, and it adds a framing story wherein Ellery Queen reads a manuscript that retells the actions of the film. The framing story was written by Ellery Queen and a novelization of the film itself by Fairman. Now, the Holmes Ripper idea, again, was later taken up in Murder by Decree. In '78, one of the best Canadian movies of that decade, in which Frank Finlay reprised his role as Lestrade, and Anthony Quayle once again had an important part, though this time as Sir Charles Warren of Scotland Yard. Now, the film inspired the writing of Sherlock Holmes' War of the Worlds in 1975, blending the story of Sherlock Holmes and the world of H.G. Wells' science fiction novel, The War of the Worlds. Now, A Study in Terror, again, the great composing by John Scott, was his first feature film score, conducting the very, very talented Hollywood Symphony Orchestra. Very, very interesting. Now, if you want to find out a little bit more of the movie, Tom Weaver did an article in Fangoria called The Colon Climax in April '92, and connected works, of course, The Last Sherlock Holmes Story and Dust and Shadow, an account of the Ripper killings by Dr. John H. Watson. Now, I haven't seen this movie in a number of years. I would give it a 2.5 stars out of 4 because I've been kind of spoiled because Murder by Decree is available on my Hollywood Suite package on my Bell Dish, and it very foggy but very holds up quite a bit. So, John, thanks a lot for requests. If you like what we're doing here with our vintage British horror podcast, let us know with a like, comment, subscribe, and requests are always appreciated and always highly considered. Thanks for listening. Bye.